Talmer beklaad. Ya malore nga suliu al members ra NDBP, ma members ra Palau Housing Authority, ma Trikal Adala National Housing Commission. El mlo sa miul konge may ma the conducted tel oversight hearing tokora housing. Me di bakumul bay syokara senator Selngartiang nong President Trasenet Baules, ma members ra committee, Vice Chairman Umi Scabaw, Direct Kaltara member Isal, ma Senator Tabalwala o Bangedre lang, ma Senator Sungino. Direct Kalngaring Itigal Adala o Vice President Talorgit. Ma bodo mo ule direct kuntit te alle bol sa amil direct syokara members present me bodo mo ra NDBP doral budula klita tu.
Ang will tutaw. Oy abang ko ba NDBP ang arinya presidente CEO Claire Harvey, arinya operation manager Carla West, ngariya member Ralph Moses, ngariya Vice Chair Aberdeel, Mangak, Doroteo.
Hello. Malungil tuta chairman malungil tuta senate president. So kama ako ngartang al Palau Housing Authority ya ngaraklit atu ang ani PSL executive director a Palau Housing at Chobalin Koshiba ya ngaraklit si ka a loan officer tara loan officer a officer gid Josephine Francisco. Ya ako ngartalom te era board a Palau Housing gramal team digidi tewang ang ngara board elang. Ya ngaringi ya Umay Basilius member ngani ya Cloldil Singewo al treasurer ma James Ramatra Aluy al vice chairman nga kal chairman ra Anthony Rudim.
Malungi total merbek la de nga ka mauk ngartiang al other cell National Housing Commission nga cell mandated through 10-36 ngartel elang nga niya Director Brian Marairenga omter cell nga commission ng omter Public Works ngania Director Sterlina Gabriel nga omtera BLS ng Artel Commission nga saning irma nga omter obisera historical ng Artel Commission. Tel Commission ergida awa single mo minister MTCA ngegida ori marigal chairperson Artel Commission for now wakti interim chair while selbonia process ergida seguida appointment terangil mo chairman. Ma'am Sulang.
Am sulay direktore kami matengel wase rogol to ka ding aringa challenges ring mak matengel kita albang la tokol challenges to lul dimok ringia tokora udo kada direct matengel wase direct tokora process ngani talentingit tel program do meseng la ngaringa aku mo sa beedel adadu sumok ra guk mo sa beels misi itel program ra housing ma committee awlum dasol ase me takaw ko dong me bodo dong ok mal sa beedel di lu sa pabiel mo ngeme ding ngaringa time el gidel guk mo dong ok le abangal guk mo sma da gel bebi ra telang tingil tel program el sa beedel mot magaroguy guk mo kal mongil ma loaise ang suakal bay di maalityang yil draw law morar senators madil bail address ay kel kukura concern sertir okore to lemol mal ngarse gidel teletar aldo adu el ngaringa kuksomin malko dim mo o dersia imomi the recognizer kami ma medigo mo sa te ala vice chair committee senators kabaw mabol sa BL ko giragel concern rin.
Chairman pay olingit tamal sa BL dim briefly mem gora explain el process el gida ultura al sel kumdas sendiri lungilabol clearly kada masilbol ol tetel mer adra bulu katumam de asing ngara tetelel ngara role ra National Housing Commission magamil ka karo selbanggal malsum ngani atar gamil sa el gora mo debriefing wa isa sige the process e bay dong sige gora mo wala alda do emro ko doran mo ngi ati lungila chairman oy
sulang Senator Umi malungil total mera chairman rekal members sa committee tugubat sulung total mo representa Senate direk malungil total mo tigal members ra NDBP Palau housing kita kasayra karamla memo ke Senator sangaba katingilo $15 million loan kidela housing ngoyak segi the loan mergong enya atilo da la aldo mo doni sing RPPL 10-26 Ilinga miktab itian national housing mlengar alela mo seta a policy ma guidelines rasing magarang abot tau to telu daw magarang ado darali mo uniform el process el boloyak niya NDBP ma Palau housing mergong draw telu daw da national government el girela housing program okay so seguid el 10-36 ral makatmok el baktabi National Housing Commission emergong ya National Housing Commission amilgid po el uliaka ala en miltut ko sa minister MCCA amo chairman of the commission ngani nga igel agencies el wable igel direct stakeholder agencies ra government niya included tiang tugunia Bureau of Public Works Ak matengeng ariar adal aul mesra Anthony Brian Rabel Turtiang o sitiada kal PUC ko mem katiang di ging artiang al gukom TRSL nga kang artiang alom TRSL Bureau of Public Works sa tokora infrastructure perspective tial tokora housing membership segi del ngaringa HPO Historical Preservation Office ngaringa Bureau of Land and Surveys egal membership pa kal membership pa agencies Mang Bureau of Land and Surveys, Bureau of Public Works, PPUC, EQPB, Budget and Planning na Ministry of Finance. Gigidi am lotma kalala, dem ko magtibi del Housing Commission. Kita padrilia sel housing policy, sige del HTLP policy adrilia merong ang approver niya commission. Segi di awal blol do ornya igal tablol bang gamer ko draw igel funds el girela igel ko rule player igal tablol institutions ak madenge chairman lo singarinya report sa igal tablol bang kumong diagi bom tur al silagay ay bay ititrir mentira report igel elguk okya kartir maklungel awdo del blal iti including sel blalo lingit tingira NHC drawdown request makadamla ko yan ngim tungo maklungel awdo den medel abay ibom report ni ara NHC hindi sel klungel am kang alawngil nga pang ka report mera commission I hope seguida agora a brief skeletal framing ra NHC masen lengar alel el double sang or sira to the RPPL 10-36
Sulang direktor amal blatak kal lomso del tel program ngari nga Senator Isan.
Sulang Mr. Mlaire. Akong dasa impol klilo asya purpose tial meeting basically ngulumu rasisyon ng kamamara couple of days ago. Naring isel babier NDBP Mlay. El gora partly report how many loans you made, partly collection letter. I like to make a reference it as a collection letter that you're actually telling OEK that national government need to appropriate $3.8 million to you, and I know Palau Housing by this law 10-36 also have reported to OEK of how much your administrative cost or loss of interest have been incurred. So kung nasa chairman ang labay appropriate at straight to shaded point rakmul wase sel pa bilingir at NDBP Mlay. Lingidura last session, maselguk pa bilingir at Palau Housing mera couple of, I guess before them edawal, the alta again will incur Palau Housing Authority for administering this loan, loss of interest, administrative cost, mga nang direct mahit over 1 million. What are we going to be doing with those? And then I will make other questions relating to other agencies involved with that program. But I think kalau siya mo kita ultangate adrabang mga Palau Housing. Mga dilungile University alam explain la silba bilingit el mergid in general other NDBP asuma Palau Housing ang statement ringit to that effect el dum emerge open again mangel kirel say the specific issue money that needs to be appropriated and authorized by National Congress to pay these two entities for what they've done on this housing loan program. And remember, looking at the law this morning, we have two loans that you're dealing with for both of you guys. One, Palau Housing got a $5 million loan from Mega Bank way back before the $15 million loan. And that money was supposed to be lent out for housing. NDBP, I believe, also got $5 million prior to the $15 million for housing. Well, that you can explain that first $5 million from Mega Bank because it shows in the financial report that there's a $5 million loan from the component of national government, $5 million to Palau Housing and $5 million to NDBP. So you can talk about that $5 million later. But I think the issue here to start with should be you are telling us to clarify the amount that we got from you, NDBP 3.8 for all that administrative cost. How you reach that amount? Of course, the law is clear. The law, RPPL 10-36, Section 120, Section 5, Subsection 129, A, B, C, are very specific language into that effect, if you look at the law. And maybe you should share with the committee and the people of Palau who are going to be watching this exactly how that 3.8 million figure was arrived at by NDBP, and then if Palau Housing has the same information regarding what needs to be authorized and appropriate for you guys for administering this loan, then that, Chairman.
Wala la ako kami NDBP.
Two-Town Chairman, Two-Town Senators, thank you very much for the opportunity to provide some answers to some of the questions. Firstly, the $5 million, the Megabank $5 million was for agriculture and aquaculture. So the law states that NDBP shall account for all costs, expenses and loss of income on the loans. So we have calculated that the costs to NDBP are the difference between the 6% interest rate, which is the maximum interest rate. So we're claiming our losses of income between 1% and 6% and 3% and 6%. We're also claiming the loss on the subsidy of $10,000, which is money we would have lent, so we've claimed that at 6%, and also the subsidy loss. So that's where, now, the losses that we've claimed for over the term of the loan. So the maximum term of this loan is up to 25 years. We haven't claimed any potential losses from defaults. And we understand, we know in the future that there will be defaults on these loans. There always are. We haven't claimed any other sundry expenses such as attorney's fees. We've just claimed interest only and our existing staff expenses. So we haven't said our staff expenses for the next, and this loan will go on for probably close to 30 years. we haven't claimed staff expenses for monitoring these loans over the next 30 years. This payment is a one-time payment. So if the Senate appropriates funds and pays us the 3.9 million, it's a one-time payment. As far as these loans are concerned, we're not coming back to the Senate for any other money to cover any other expenses or interest lost on these loans at all. It is a one-time payment. We also are not charging any interest on interest for any delays in any payment. Does that answer your question?
Okay, now, before we go to the actual amount, I want to go to the law. If you do have a copy of the law in front of you, RPPL 10-36, subsection 5, and then under that there's a section 129. The title of that section, subsection 129 under section 5, I'm looking at RPPL 10-36. It says, the National Development Bank of Palau shall participate in the housing development project established Chapter 12, That's just using proceeds from the loan number 1025-107-001 agreed on between the Republic of Palau and Mega Bank. This is the $15 million loan. Now the next sentence is very important. It says the bank shall prioritize providing loans to displaced residents and first-time homeowners. My first question, of all the housing loans that you have made pursuant to this law, how many of it has been for displaced residents and how many of it has gone to the first-time homeowners?
Thank you. Up until the end of January, we've approved 103 loans. Of that 103 loans, 96 customers have been first-time homeowners and 7 have been displaced persons.
Now, all those numbers, people have moved into the home or are they still in construction?
Thank you. Some are under construction. As at the end of January, we had 42 completed homes. We had 18 that were between 50% and nearly completed, and then we had 43 that were yet to be started.
Okay.
They're all ready to be started. It's just contractors lining up.
So for all those loans, they've been 100% financed by the $15 million
Correct.
loan from Taiwan.
Correct.
Have you made, during that period of time, when you started making loan from the 15 million, have you made loan to homeowners outside, using your own fund outside of the 15 million?
We have done some loans outside of the 15 million, and that is to people looking to either purchase a second home or move into a bigger home who don't qualify as first-time homeowners, or to first-time homeowners who are looking to borrow more than 100,000.
Okay.
There's a cap at
Yeah.
100,000.
How many of that loan have you made since about the same time you started the Palau housing loan? I mean the loan under 10-36. Loans that you had used your own fund to make. How many homes or how many loans have you made outside, using funds outside of the 15 million?
Guesstimate. This is a best guesstimate because I didn't have those figures. Probably up to 20.
Okay, so most of the loans you've done for the past year has been out of the 15 million.
Yep, we have had a huge
Okay.
response to this.
Okay. Now, the second thing that I want to ask is on Section B of this loan under subsection 129. It says, the bank shall enter into a subsidiary agreement with the Republic of Palau, wherein the Republic of Palau shall be responsible for all payments to Mega Bank, International Commercial Bank, including principal in interest and all other costs triggered by the use of the principal of this loan. Now, do you have a copy or did you ever come up with that subsidiary agreement? between Republic of Palau and the bank?
The initial subsidy agreement that was signed when we first started this included in the subsidiary agreement that both NDBP and Palau Housing would repay the principal to the government.
Then you make that, provide that to the committee at a later time. At the later time, provide a copy of that. Now, my next question relating to that subsection B is, you're collecting us based on the law, by the teeth of the law, or by the language of the law? Are you collecting the money? And I know we owe you the money, but I just want to understand, are you collecting from the government your letter based on the subsidiary agreement or based on the language of this law that I just read?
We're requesting the repayment of our interest and expenses based on the language of the law.
Okay, but I think the committee would like to see the subsidiary agreement pursuant to law, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so let's go to number C and the law. The C said, the bank shall account for all costs, expenses, and loss of interest income from HTLP in its required audits, and also shall provide quarterly reports to the President of the Republic of Palau and the OEG and the status of HTLP. Loss of interest income will be interest earnings from loss from the loan provided at the less than 6%. So you started your statement by explaining that. My question is, that loss, when a bank look at that loss, the loss is actually loss from the money that was given to you to loan out, right? Am I correct? It's not the loss of your own money. In other words, you did not lose interest because you did not go borrow 15 and then lend it out. You did not go out, the bank did not go out and borrow 15 and then the law, the government promised you by law that we'll give you this money free, you just this interest, and then we will pay you the differences or the loss. So this is a loss not out of your pocket. It's the loss because of the losses. So, but you did not lose anything. You did incur over time cost, maybe administrative cost for administering this loan. So that's why I asked you the question, how much loan have you made outside of the 15 million? And I was wondering if you can tell us how much your administrative costs were on those loans compared to what the government now owe you on this $15 loan. And maybe you can provide that later. But you see where I'm coming from, Chairman? I got two loans roll up, but I get loan make out of their pocket. And I kasi tela administrative cost at it. And the la of malbak la say look close lender tell 15. And we need to pay them the difference between 1 and 3, not 3 and 6 or whatever. So maybe you can provide those information later. But the most important thing, Chairman, and I think for NDBP and Palau Housing is the same question can go to Palau Housing later. Did you ever come up with a subsidiary agreement pursuant to law with the national government? And if you did, we'd like to see that. Sulang, di kita kadik.
Alway se kwate alam sa senators kabaw mal logera.
So question lagi maybe direct kami Palau Housing ama NDBP ako asing also kung mangarinya issue problem kami lo NDBP maybe you can answer, but maybe I'll say it clear is are these so the National Housing Commission is responsible for administering the loan program. Have you raised those issues with the National Housing Commission?
Yes, These issues have been raised many times with the National Housing Commission. One, we were unaware that right at the beginning of the negotiations, we were unaware until we saw the subsidiary loan agreement that we had to repay the principal back to the government, to the National Housing Commission. We've raised the fact that with NDBP using these funds, that we are at a loss because we're not lending using our own funds. And we've also raised the issue that the program in its current format is not sustainable.
Yes, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is we want also somebody to check your numbers outside of probably hiring a third party. That is this really a loss that you're currently operating on, and maybe even determine the right. I'm not disputing your numbers, but I would like for people that are administrating the program to share the same sentiment that you're actually saying to us for the Senate. Yeah, because I think it's also good for in this case the minister of that was administering the program to actually write and says yes, these are something. So because the OEK is responsible for ensuring that you guys get paid for the loss that you incur. So that was my first question, and I'll let others maybe weigh in a chair before I, because maybe some of my questions maybe we should maintain the line of questioning here before we move on to others. So chair.
Well, mal medida recognize presence ra Vice President ra Senate el metallurgy the Mariur ma Senator Aldabel. Kada dir ka ngara tokor our man so mga nga ngidil Senator as well nga follow up question ngil gila legal interest loss ma reimbursement and Senator Aldabel.
It's multo tao ada NDBP ma aboard the Palau Housing Authority. A question na ako di follow up ay gigit sin sila da ngara clarification na gigit tokor or Claire, we do maintain the different portfolio for this Palau Housing Commission loans and your regular loans, right? We maintain two different portfolios, loan portfolios. So when you do the accounting, you don't mingle the funds with your own funds and these funds. Okay, that's good. So my question, sort of like a follow-up with the Senator Isal's question is, when you, this calculation of the lost income and the lost interest, are they projected or actual?
The loss of income is projected over the term of the loan, so the majority is 20 years to 25 years.
Okay, and is that in accordance with the law?
The law is very, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just going to say as I read it, the law is very ambiguous in that it states the bank shall account for all costs, expenses and loss of income from HDLP in its required audits. It doesn't say what term, it doesn't say how often, it just says we shall account for it. From our perspective, it would be administratively a nightmare to have to go in and look at every single loan and calculate the interest and all the expenses over an annual period because of the way these loans are drawn down.
So my reading of the law and my understanding, I thought, was to reimburse the bank on the actual loss. So the claim for lost income should be provided once you realize the loss or once the loss is incurred. The way I see this is you're claiming 3.8 million. That is supposedly your loss into the next so many years. And to me, I think the government will be at a loss if we just pay you in advance this money, and not knowing that if actually going to reflect actual loss to the bank. Uh,
I understand the question, and I see where you're coming from. As I said, I'm not an attorney. I'm looking at it from the bank's perspective. When we were talking about claiming for the losses, there were plenty of discussions with then Minister Chilton and discussions with Minister of Finance, and we said this is how we are going to claim our losses. So, I mean, there's validity to both sides of the argument, as I see it. I'm just not a lawyer, so I can't say.
Because I know the reimbursement of the loss or payment of the loss to the bank is going to be appropriated through the regular budget appropriation, and I don't think we can appropriate advance over the future fiscal years. So I think what we need to work on is to calculate at the end or maybe during the budget period, budget process, how much is going to be projected loss for you for this fiscal year or for the next fiscal year for us to be able to appropriate the actual amount.
As I said, if we had to do that every year for the next, would be nearly 30 years, administratively it would be very hard for us to give accurate figures without going into every loan every year and working out how much interest was paid. Then we would have to go, which loans do we think are going to fall over? We'd have to maybe claim back those at a later date. It would probably, for us, mean hiring additional staff, which would push up our expenses to do this. It's not a small job. It's not an easy task to just go in and hit a couple of buttons on our loan program and come up with that information. I mean, I'm sure that, yeah, we just felt, for us, we felt this was the easiest way, bearing in mind there are things that we are not claiming. We are not claiming future losses. The other thing we know, with pretty much 99% of our housing loans go the full 20 years, the full 25 years. Very seldom do we get someone coming in and making either a lump sum payment to their loan, or very seldom do we get anybody saying, I want to pay my loan off early, and buy another house. It just doesn't happen. So I'm reasonably confident that the figures that we're giving you are certainly reasonably accurate. And we would welcome, as Senator Singabao said, we would welcome someone coming in and checking our figures.
You said that it's going to be difficult to manage the different accounts of different customers. How many customers are we talking about? Are we talking about 200 people?
At present, we have 103. 103 loans. It depends on whether the scheme is continued. It also, each loan is drawn down on different dates with different steps, progressive drawdowns as they build their house. So you have to go back and look at each individual transaction on the loan and go, this customer got 10,000 in January, the interest accrued is this. Then we had another drawdown of 15,000 in March, and we have to keep calculating all those interest gaps.
And all of that are done on some sort of a software that you have to be able to determine how much is lost for this particular customer.
We would have to do it both using our software and manual checks.
Right.
Because there are times when customers get behind in their loan payments. So we would have to go back and we would calculate there's loan fees.
So it's really the same way you're treating your regular customers, only the term and maybe the interest rate is different. So I would assume that, with that particular software, you should be able to easily manage 100
Would also have to go back and calculate what the customer should have paid if they're at 6% versus what they're paying at 1% or 3%. Plus, we'd have to go and look at whatever subsidy was given as well.
Okay. Di last raw material. Adara borda. Kumtas itya, you know, maybe it sound complicated, hindi po alalak le madrungil algut makla process ma ed organize ay kal accounts ra kakarusel adal customers and benefit at program eng dia kal necessary bodo lara the additional manpower kida sel ngartial la kabelment wabol reimburse ay gel guk temira adamil mo o manay sa kay gidel liga ngani sa gidel mechanism el bom recovery kay gidel cost kami ma expenses kami mang suadal mo blakatak lay galing tial programa oisel dilya sangabaw Palau Housing Commission na ong raangi mangirel kami Palau Housing Commission na mo dang okla organize ay gidel process ra reimbursement ma cook reporting ra kami mo Palau Housing and Palau Housing cook Palau Commission na Housing Commission na cook report mera albira kululak masay kay gida agida del appropriate mo reimburse ay bank ay development bank ma Palau Housing by so dal dire ko siya experience ra Palau Housing Authority na sing are you experiencing the same thing or kung mga umanay sa portfolio ra tial guk
lagi kung betul bela chairman ratok kisay mo kara umila akmlekot tologel sayid ngaralla mal tak sayid section 5 PPL 10.36 la subsection 129 subsection Russia tiang la akmula sia abelawa amne yakso ko la se belawa mo harot chalon marami ka bank and the miskimet te alwa si NDBP you go administer the loan, they will pay you whatever interest or loss you're going to incur. And this is malbatak kasi nagirel mo kat subsidy agreement. Ilang kali katal gisa sa subsidy agreement. Ityalla amlola ara June 19, 2020 or 2019. So this coming June namut tarak. And I don't know when you made your first loan. 1 year. Mang ako lingit at semen lo sa musel subsidy agreement. My intention was subsidy agreement tam nagirel wal ko rules and regulation legislative enactment of the law. Mo tutit yang ndak sa dot yang edim collect interest il dia ka ungalel. Let yang basically in general tel tak iwin ngarat. Ngay dengal rabang la comedy collect the base not the subsidiary agreement, Miguel Mutnok, you're collecting based on the language of the law. Ya ulak pigik keringi, ya ulang tiang asap el mo dal spil sub mo an dal sub ed dot tugur going forward sellable time will to start the hara monthly or semi monthly or yearly payment to murape ka bang tial 15 ingat alela national government. Seguid ya, maksimum kada pera 3.8 rekor gumir elang. At demela, amandri payment ting national government tamo authorized and appropriate tawdo dul mo haror tial yearly payment loan. You see, tial ko rakyat 22 lang nga national government. Agim na yakso mo pera interest los remiw. Yet tial kaludo diw. May say, hindi la mulway say tiada out of pocket ludo dim la kamlangit ludo de blender ngi. It was given to you, Hindi ka la am giram follow ngi. I'm not hindi Ako lagi ta semeta sa subsidiary agreement, ya necessary mo do sa president Palau housing, housing commission, et alak le route to lia PS lo aw ngel tel ko le tel do, et lin mo friendly ra kami makamam, aklol complement. Leng kada mo kada bringi. Pwede ako siya sustain ringi. Abo game up going forward pera interest loss kami gibo pera mo to daw do pera loan la loan kami keep proud do interest ra asel 1% ya government per kami wa it's in the law we ako nga kan yes it loan ang part of the team and we approved ya loan hindi al blood run ringi blood sa ko bill in mera national government 3.8 million in less than a year. Ito yung kabol tarak. 1 year eh. Sa June 20 am lo 1 year. I say? 1 year matarang ilim mo 3.8. Ya another year kalil butul mas. Ya alam say next year 15 and then and the same condition kalil lutul. You see where I'm going at eh? Nagil statement ra clear kasi unsustainable both on your side and national government side. Masih subsidiary agreement tadi itu revisit ringi, by dura Brian housing loan program, and we have a new president, ringi, Minister of Finance, come up with something that will be more sustainable for both you and national government. Eh? Ngarala. Ngir dia report dan gua kasih gua dia kal. Kom lamasang ngaringi o provide ringi le say ako mesa collection kami ada kala base self subsidiary agreement di base la alla language la o asila one time tolo ko ringi self service a Florida kamam tiang apart tiang 3.8 million has not occurred yet. It's projected loss abo gibam haraw ngi kelem gibam gilem haraw la first 6 months at program wuk legal blame incur, you see. Anyway club lagi ada sa subsidiary agreement amen ngi lo bangela
Ano ba ask kala Director Brian sel smodi sel subsidiary agreement.
Okay.
Oy.
So lang interim chair. So members of committee el subsidiary loan agreement will execute ringira August 27, 2019. Will sign ringira then Minister Baklay Tamangil Chilton on behalf of the Housing Commission. Madirekal Miss Aberdil Avail, na chairperson ng NDBP. Ma Frida Dalmalom tira pala housing. Ma Minister of Finance el sana. El subsidiary loan agreement adiakal losa datyal 3.8. Sedim neseta procedures ma review a request ma drawdown of $15 million. Direkal segi del subsidiary agreement en ilu angar alela harara loan el ngul medira imoregal tablol bank. Siem law recently as November last year ngoya ka amendment tekadingil beti mo modakal bangka harar sil loan ra Taiwan lumuk tel mera ROP. Sige dia. Mlari nga bebira ya amendment sil ngari al mutu more amendment sil misadra technical definition ra displaced mal mutu one amendment direkal met technical amendment. Di basically sige da loan agreement tegi da kapil gubal ngarti amat sekal for the purpose of discussion and sekal mas kakapil nga kamo komisyon.
Na mo clear kausem na duli malangar alla letel ngar alla akmuluwasi. The National Development Bank shall participate in the housing development loan project established in Chapter 72 of Title 34 of Personal Code, using proceeds from the loan 025107001 agreed to between the Republic of Palau and Mega Bank International. Sige, misal sabi agreement tagirel later, yung sige the language ng Republic of Palau and Mega Bank. Hindi issue albangan niyak mula si Abela responsible mo harar alone shall start gired al haraw. In the meantime, abela gired per NDBP, government abela gired authorized appropriate tawdo ma NDBP for the loss of interest ma administrative cost. Set up loss mo ra government abela ko mesin. You know? Mang agired el mutual mesra some agreement between ROP, Makamiw, housing loan program, may pang housing, authority mo people friendly tial payment. Then kasi alibela once the time for Palau to start paying tial loan, ikan apera loan, pera, abang pera. Kahalel mo Palau housing al puskit sel to ortir, gong but el pera ikal figures ikal rule lending institution.
Ma'am Sulang Senator Rizal. So, maldo sisilo ng legal bill share clear NDBP. Aditi mo kakaros ra programmer tier ma programmer Palau housing. Palau housing maximum malon sa lot of deal base ra RPPL 10-36 ma policy ra Palau housing 60,000. Dire kal kuk dia kal 6% regular interest rate 4.5. So interest losses will give claim asel kakaros ra 1% subsidized interest ma 4.5 maguksel 3% interest after application a $10,000 subsidy and the 4.5. So total drawdown ra Palau housing am langul through programs niya almost 4.5 million. So with that ang 73 are okya, 61 first time homeowner, 12 are tira displaced. And then so with all that ang motmag yang ara $2,088,975.28 project asel loss cover lost interest income. Kuk tokora igel dire logik sida la including se Palau housing ada kal sabel charge igel loan fees including our application fee ma igel kuk notary fees di se dingara $2,000 dakaludi mo kurtial 2 million. The focus sa igel $2 million.
Chair, so if I get your point right, so this is for the duration of the 25 years. Is that what you're claiming, eh? Okay. So if you get the money up front, what would you do with the interest, the money that we're giving you up front? Are you going to loan it out and get the interest and keep it again?
Okay, we see the money coming back in as something to reinvest back into the Palauan economy. So we would see, we would be happy to reinvest in a housing program, not this housing program, because it's not viable for us. To take on another $10 million worth of debt was going to really hit our balance sheet really badly. We would struggle to raise funds for other programs. But I would see us using these funds to reinvest, whether it's in another housing program, because we have currently, just to give you some figures, we have 50 customers who have paid an application fee, who we have put on hold because we have no funds, totaling around $3.6 million. And we have another 110 customers with loans totaling around $10 million. So we would want to reinvest back in the program, but different program.
Let me just try, I'm trying to get a big picture. So of that 103 customers for this program, what percentage of that is your other housing loan programs? So do you have currently about 400 loans?
No, none of that is, that 103 customers are all HDLP
yes,
customers.
so I'm looking for the overall number, including your own loan program. Is it 1/5? Is it 1/3? Is it 1/4?
Currently, akong da sa tele programmer ko mamra HTLP. ang 20% tar housing portfolio ro.
Okay, Chairman, aulak mo oger yang. Gomeng aktral, sel mo do aktral will simplify tel bod understanding. At tial tam larngi ar fabel adal maral mo rablilio. Komla charge trigal fabel ad. Tiang a housing program el moralo hostel giriul gmul al adal gal menta diriglo. Ngal wan al adal ngilas ar tiang. Aklungel alu lo sper ngira additional mortigal fabel ada gegri. Maybe nguk tim leg mil di milngi regal tel lelo ngas say charge ringi. Aktel gibel mo mringan ngak sel gum dasom ngungal mem luk tuno to kyalo sim tirkal bebirar okya. Ongerung at sugum ka charge ra tial the 3.9 million, if you divide that by 25 years, that's 156,000 a year. I think that's something that we can swallow, but if you want to put that as a 3.9 million in front of us, look, and if you divide that by 103 customers, why don't you put that in the actual loan itself? Kung la 15,000 ang tela, kung charge our adal marula EL 15,000, kung charge our adal marula nga consultant tal marula design regang, edi kasi ilmog talot tungira al selsay. If that's so kung makumpase nga la limit kami, maybe gira la o Mr. Segi daling I think this is something that maybe al sukum kada di ba diring ilmal mo regal kakaro, maybe la mo telgi belbiot telgi da agora mo kaya el chunks mo si bedel marga klityak mal klol di do wala marga kani at one time I will mak direct mo concern during this time.
Speakal ko di kami tersel last recommendation regal wasem divider tengem lutungum sanga okyak. Okyak ay giblem qualified tier to their maximum debt service madalutal malelering mo gi mo da sa pila forward ni.
Wait, I'm not saying kwaseng more okyak. Sel omol top the sel amount tel mar okya mom ko musel breakdown na estimation na malgayok subdivision en 3.6 million ya ara labla ya di 1.5 million mura 25 housing units. I don't know if you have the same kind of breakdown for the other programs.
Ay program ra NDBP mal di mura individual homeowners hindi ka
subdivision. So there's no way Komharawa dengi maral mil morti.
Mali septitang. Aso kung mga niya infrastructure ng septitang kagim.
Siya mulot tungira loan al piringa loan. El dia mul charging ra customers.
Mura customer harara loan. Part tersel kung ila loan lolaring. And bitrigel ko nga oriora of course sa mura sewer ma utilities mun dia. Digay gidel outside sewer system trigay dia septitang apart tyal kung ilalon lolani.
Okay. So ako das swing self-leveling up nga Senator Aldabel chairman amal important teling ako das swing gira dal talgiben mo clear sel di mutian nambel mati ida kam dodengak masi magami ko mal klage in kwasya ko ur tel ngalo sisiu no officer el moregal baby rablay el medal 20% tragi mal klage in atemel mortila seguida ako das swing morate el tial urior el gora como gora di mul lampsam ringi mer gongul meskida talgib el momring ergida dire el mom dia setiang meral reflect ra gostra gamiura temiul actually ko manage say gallo lesel close ringi el start tal adal hara ringi mal wangara really dir ko malamol malames setiang ma un kom charge setiang rabe kara galwa sektu.
This is a one time charge, it's not a
ya am sulang kita point malon.
Kabo Senator Aldabel.
Kung dasa hindi kal tangartial trial paspa kara coastal more kami. Kada trial o sige sel role lang mas edel kay ng seul al deliver tial el program el more sel coastal ng arba benefit el mar okya. O sisulta men dia kal gukol pol coastal kami wa malubel ulel bola kal sabil tial banggal go operate regular. So say gidel gulo ko nik na say kalel sa edlo measure sell not so much an actual loss. Alo bedo measure ngil di el sela 1 year every year the most of the say gidel ure mer kong ya olbil appropriate raw daw dun. Sige da kubna sing mo talgibal mo simple umso de lemro ko mo reflective actual cost ra program. Diri tara factor diri ka take into account hindi kumda sing important factor the consider niya selguk delinquency rate kami. Are we taking that into account as well? Let's say kita dire kal sabel guk ruling mo ko ra ang ania al guk lang aswin mo kami.
We're not taking into account any delinquency on the amount we're requesting. If we were to calculate annually, then we would have insufficient funds to reinvest back in this program. For the first 5 years minimum, the interest that we're likely to, the 150,000, you averaged it out at 150,000, that would allow us to help 1.5 customers per annum. We've got, as I said earlier, we've got 55 already waiting for 3.6. Getting this funds means that we can help those customers in some way, shape or form with a different program. And then we've got another 110 potential customers. So that the issue for me as the CEO of the bank is without these funds, we're going to have to go out ourselves and either look for further funds and further borrow, which hits our balance sheet a lot. I would like to see us being able to use these funds not with this program. I have to be categorically adamant that this is not a viable program, but in a way that we could reinvest back in for first-time homeowners and displaced people.
Okay, so if we give you this 3.8 million, it's not going to be reinvested into the same program, but to your regular bank programs.
We are prepared to sit down and negotiate a different program from our regular program, but certainly not 1% and the 10,000 subsidy and 3% with a 10,000 subsidy. It's just uneconomic, and it's hitting the bank where it hurts, which means that we're not getting sufficient income to be able to on-lend to to all sectors in Palau, whether it's housing or business.
Do you want a question, Chair? Ayel subsidy mga ludaw dalubang guk mga reimburse low spare ludaw. So technically, it's coming out of this fund, eh? What you say? Oh? From the bank? Hindi ako, tiyagidal ladal tiyal 15 million. May subsidy ng sources sel subsidy.
Sel subsidy mga sigidal part of sel drawdown request ng mga NHC.
So, masengara mo claim interest rin.
Let's without the subsidy, we would have earned that interest. I will make a claim or sell interest.
Kung claim or sell, sige the
interest is
balance
10,000.
Difference 6%.
I see.
Senator Isal.
Chairman, bumulot ko belaw. Tel la require wasi nganya audit. Hindi ako si kom audit ra 15 million. Kula sin mo require audit mo part your annually audit. Kami was the last auditor kami. Rabanga. And when's the last audit Rabanga? 20. Di ako include, di ako malungit the term audit at the program. Ito dong liwa si bom request auditor kami kasi include the audit of this housing loan program as to what has transpired. And hotel kasi actually guide 3.8 ng base lang rang bilang lesa ulpi yung sabi lo meser ngi ngaka ne part yang chairman mga I can tell you and confess it. We put the whole burden on national government and this housing loan. That's a fact. whether you like it or not. By law, 10 stories, we put everything on national government. Payback of the loan, paying NDBP, and paying housing authority. I don't know if I'm going to be yes if we're going to do it over again. Maybe I'll abstain on the bill. But kung understand the last issue belau the other belau housing. So we have taken a big step. At least the start program kasi mo cycle ko Marcel to you guys and to the national government as well. Gired respective time ulbila kami tilguk pa bill cycle na accumulated. Ida ka the pegel dirgal incur the interest my expenses. We get a lot of flow there, ma'am. We will pay a bill as we go along. Per National Development Bank. Of course, we need to work with the president. Brian, ako na si teatra issue gini ma'am dala president. Na mo time group housing development group sa prime meeting review. Ko mom ko muhtal space. Jam na transition report ni nakalwala mo issue na transition report of president. Naringi. Yeah, so ngayon at chairman ng housing ra Senate including hindi we have to pay right NDBP and housing some and then we have to restructure the territory. Especially the subsidiary agreement needs to be beefed up a little bit so then it's all friendly to you, financially prudent to you and also financially capable sustainable for the national government. Sulang.
Sula Senator Isal. Ngari nga mutal sual mo ed honorable Toro Senator Tablol. Pom.
Li. Saule chairman. Me goman saul ngati nga kadi ma osigaden mora okyak trigel giten mo kortil. Ang gestir kita kora kari. Sel housing development policy pem setringi. Aigel kora priorities ring ABCD mora 8 sa kumes. Sel FOC easing the plight of the poorest and securing the more equal distribution of benefits of growth across both states and people of Palau. Aknulo akolar adra nga adra urur leitura state mal blaktak lo sa igal ngaringil program malungin apto kar adel mal dia kal qualifies bi ilmay di ko tru ulen dia sibil morsay manggang until maktulil logi tel ti Allah si dia kal tu ulel si irmulalo nen moran adel di si ilm ara material sa side or tirel do bakar kal pagod ora blirir ito sa igal ara la construction o may rogul trentingil igal requirement adi ngalakra ipingirar yak madengi blal do or el alsis dilu leotar aden dirgad or digeraka rakabulsa ya pa ada bil almeng siam le ulil kemal la kamudengi mgegrel ngal kendi ngaramong siam litritela mod orab liat katamot mag ginro sim arabia amlemring syokala pa ada made la maigel side orang aparta ya immar ada lurura si ilgut moklab lai eng blai it's a home e ulela dan okla si ok momonia program enggal ala si aluil telail eng sarada bluas il tobel dobi ablay sel skuray bobang sem lo all ada dim lo dobi edig lo orme alam na mo hayan bofan dig lo suktoling ta sigil tar option sa kamera sa selngani aldu ulel lang moni aldu ulir aden meng masesel di mora saidio el te tiablay e bolto ora no sigda ora imursei ay imura diktilil ngati ngaktilil lo ay sa sekom lam dangay ngari adel lo blay ablay ngari gel utum lamangay matokora del kekail harar tial utum mora oner alon tira mal dig it's business as usual mong mal di licensel harar tial loan dia ka kora sekuk sa kora sabi sing kal ada mal bulang regal interest ringin ngagi din mal adir kemdela imra ke ngora tiro sia mem kamal bulam ko tel giblong suile they pay regularly in tial utmam lamangay Ya adalo utuma ko kumlang maaral tial utumal morbab mong ya meroko drigal qualifier sel legoteng dia ka atamel man dia ka el qualifier sel loan ndeli ka dia ka el mortgage segita tara ya ong edel black rang sil tokoy ar adal guk kanya adang clear ngila loan ya diga kira blay man drigal sal motelara ka tial bla koram tamelang ya telwada dia ka el mawdu del siuseng ngi ya kan traktor amla sana agreement tumla maraile ya bla talmal kadam la mo mesa ng okol suwernya makit or dala bla structurally dia kalungin and then the loan remains payment remains and ya dalang clear ada koram terep sulma ayede gudar se olngi tange so seguir el f el lo hace adang so trigel gotel los peajes eso en medio de trigel el tira dia ka duli la income til sum oklay el bangalin aktodar se mer mi malongi tange so se ta kain sul gut moklay gide en ngaria mo los trigel adal tira omula dalang aklir malu betam mokla dalang aklir omam sula
Ari ang ngodol yelmle raisa senator tablo wala ko malu tabangal kada madenge chairman na Palau housing maralak madenge lasyo ko mla ugera kay gidel issue el klaw madenge ra committee awase ngaringa tarak uriura selebol mereka apply ngaringa tarak alwal ko ra warranty malubang teal el bol ngaringa ko kora mle ngalsang sela urior malubang guk ngarangeng civil address ma kumdaswa klol ngalela belua wase auriur sel tarak let's say 1 year and 1 day 1 year and 2 months dia ka kukurate alal sa ela Palau housing el kukura molo ay imal mo swir nga gel ad malubot adal el di el sela tarak madrengel emla moringa kay gidel tolul sada sene torta balwal girela abliri Chairman mo engineering.
Musuh sa chairman, artiklo tadi clarify agreement wal or ong tila na olbil wal dito la sa Palau housing al talibal extender email ra tora warrant after a warranty o adi maksam da miya.
Oy, sel ang ngaringa warranty ra contractor wai se luriu ra pol mereka apply ang al sela tarra kal ngaringa ngidil ko ra issue ra apply ang sabaril mo address. Gidam tingel wasa do mga orabla ang gidal maintain matokora maintenance mga rang atratoy ndil sugum tamom tigringil wase tial bla di mla kalungi la rela suwer tial bla di el sela tarak ma drengeling mla oba powering tarak ma drengel di ngaring aral mel marara el sela shower tirmitna tirakamil sip say kal egora amate to el di maral aral mel dakal sil identify lo setial source aral mangargi ma tial maori ra bliri ra plal kisil lo siglo setial suwer ngaraman di me lara maori ra play ay gidel issue ay ga health issue si irarangal kal mosme ringi si other kertel blal mosme mang blatak kalwaseng maral ngania direct ngal sa set dia ka standard the code ngarang klel ngarala almo makataklaway kay gid di dolingit ringia wase ngara kuksel sa edel mo kay ngisew kut maklim mang sa edel address ay kay gid issue let tira uspe angesul kirela kay gid issue
Sulang chairman bay namakatakli so bere guktia ka available solution elang regulations ra makmula se sidol 1 year after 1 year bolto ora apply sa amal inspector among mga contractor di make sure mo dia kang rangay galble issues within that 1 year mle raised amla makatmok but right now dia ka within a regulation el mo lang clear sel 1 year le once el blal accepter niya okyak eng gukla mo mrekal guk Palau housing el guk ne otobdawzo da guk na mo mrekal alil but it take the blam raiser ngi ma as a board agi motmag ko kumgala management kumesa sing altang maybe future agreements sing adal ko mga sa adal negotiate ako ko mga tiya warranty or yayda alda azul sa amal mo mal moratable mga azul labong gala future contractor
Senator ka po
Sulang Anthony chair tilal aktiral maral NDBP ra usisiul. Leto ko seldongo ako sa tiada kalblim di mo kom pay offering itiabli labang ka. Ya sumkuk tenant tra landlord ay kengar ila landlord. Mendire kelungil gina da lomes ringi kwase al sukum matamal lengire kaluli maybe kom credit tra karsel kuk payment te krili sel kal antilak pay offer tialblay. Akum da say within ra kung dasing dire mo consider ay gaya innovative we need to think outside of the box kung dasing dire kita dire help per other way la ul mak talgiban mo concern sel langar tiang economic development pang part government tingire mo mak ako marak masetial interest la charge nging sel normal al gumya rulira vehicle everyday business kami ada kom dire mlamok kasi tiagit sel maral di cost ka mam di sel longo do si or kaming ngakamo do kami adra por kami aset trapal sindi ako ngodo do ra ako nasing giri ul telgi bel dire ko mo oger sel kwase yes a national government tang elu tialmel maral klol mokte kanya helper mabul madapor segi do lo kanya senator tabulwal ingaral kami adra national development pang kadire kal si ilother si mo helper tar over program gira other belaw mapalaw housing segi da kum da singre del mot makarogoy dia kam bom normal business mutial matiin mera ROP ma olbira klula amdo kasingiril hara ortia letir gagi dalo sisiul el customers la silver tira other bela ol gida ngatar gulo lo sertir mo man sawle chairman
Senator Aldaver.
Tiyaw ka di follow up al may gigi del namdul question. Kung das dire kelungil bol ngania sisi il kora agreement malubang oseng labang ka al giri tirgal inspector tirgal mahar til inspectors agiri remula ureri le seldosa da yasul blay era tractor sa kita mending mas tractors osi gel maklol more expensive blay let make a more profit out of it kita tral reduce tial kay nga selo lo patial ara lablay mo sabil affordable more okyak selbol way segi dar kan tractor sa mo kla tendency til tega shortcut al sugo mende ka inspector nga site make sure that the clear design embol all mo happen na gigi del after al bol mereka warranty nga mistat the surface ay gigi del problems sa ma defects sa lablay gimla ron sa triarmal betokol okya kal complain ling abliri ramla mo crack mal umla mo amar sa bebel ma emla ngalakla temela mengira kumda singirel sale agreement kamilo mangela inspector kami agiril rulin mom sisi mo niya liability niya sugum even though na expire ay gagi dale currently tialblay and the inspector agirel make sure that tialbla rule lo tirikli sales specs masumom lo niya gigi del defects fault tra inspector dim la make sure contractor ar mulay gay mang dia kadim maharor tirgal inspector kami expected tikmas tirga ar mula ureri gilal mo niya direct la staff ramang make sure inspector sira kuru abli inspector abang kadi direct akmlo makumes ngadi ba ako follow palo mi dokra ni al selabla bebulawla el alta me abli kamla ka amla statal collapse ta ulawla ni mang ay gigita pebira problem ng inspector hindi kami ako mo especially bank sa modiakal make sure inspector malube put some liability of the inspector tiga dire mal charge sa maklol mar okya kamang din so kaduli segi sel kamentara Senator Tabulwal sembral gora ngil po dire kalpom consider kami adra housing commission ay gigi del guk brula blal guk te uspe local materials wholesale monia dire kal gora te al guk motaka tarakare ko a program el gukti mohet pertigel adal sa ildi remula bliri los pe local materials direct el tarablada notice ngira tokol ada abliri ramla mo amars so all they need adi chance adwel hindi kal necessarily to maarab esel blay tedi chance ad malubet gukti ay gigida dia kal available la financing el morning mang akum das direct lung nila volga consideration
Sakal di kami titil ay the last requester ka ma Senator Tabalwal. NDBP ang nga program ringi up to 20,000. Normal di sab elengel al okya kal dingi lo sigira contractor ringi. Ara material sa benurablin masumang dingil daik sang sab el nga ruolel ang ngosuwi ang sab el. Misal hindi akse the regular program. Microfinance lang ma up to 15,000 al sab legal ara material sa legal may traveling. 6% the interest rate, 5 years unsecured. Still microfinance up to 15,000. Sell 20, 10% they uspe as security. 15. 1.5.
Sate alla Vice President Mario.
Sulay Chairman Manuel total mera kami roguya adra bang adra housing commission. Katalgim no meu del memang tang amang ariam lo diakreng sel tel hearing ending so akal di mo talgim smodi sel lemok te kartel tel loan sian mara mega bangel me olvide to ase otobdi tiang morarat el di 1% alara ornya okyak ya hindi tal loan amne simne 2% plus or 2% plus LIBOR mongara may 4% orngil tal ludo masal du kwase ko mo makoram no mesil waset tiang albora igal housing a development pangeng makarabo sel mo treterela arrangement tra payment government mo pera mi abang kalubing igal development pang housing a detail pay director mo rami abang ilang kakaraw sa tour mara tial loan dala loan tial 15 million matur mara bang ilarwa bang housing a loan igal morar adal nga 25 years hindi tial loan di do peringira within a credible time mawigay igil dulmesel wasing tiyak dam grabot address ringi ay gagi dal mlamito darababier mlamito da biling na development pang mausin melo SMP igal wal koram ne lo sertir maigel ne service sertir ne service ay galon akti so kala sistem ne mokte kartalon am lo help tel sigidal time ne close issue tel displaced tirgay gidal displaced tirgay gidal awadulas mo take care tir hindi alasel do bora igal ku record rabang mausing tabay bato ka new homeowners long ra trigal displaced blue aseng close pela housing ra blue belo makumta segi del mokte kal dolas mangaril wase tiang amnon sir trigal ade lang detail dong lela abang ma housing makabilment tra tial wase makara akabilment tabol ngusuira housing ma development pang ra gigid ku kwalo sir tir maigel makumta sengungila ay gagid mla medum makumra asen namo time dulutul mo adua Minister of Finance, Housing Commission, Palau Housing Authority, Development Pangelu, tumama sa tiyala siyang makarado the little mongil. Ikita mo nilo sa kita not mura titual time hindi kal dia ka dudela blur belaw. Belaw du blur belaw ilang apol top dai kal dudo dele gora development pang housing. Eng ngosugumi we kuk ngaraigel kuk mongon sang sela national government. Kung sa sen agirul mutumal mo okle maladul wase ti aigal duko aseng loser kami may ganda kat sebedel mongar segit ay gidan na medum ra aigal wase por sebel sel sumkom aper tal loan mera abangra mera government ra era bol hara aigal tal loan e guk para aigal guk blam accrual no asen telok dela open mera government aigal guk aigal momes lo ase gida bol ngal sang sela aigal loser kami ma interest ay gigid ya bay kuk mong song sa segil payment mirakalment bol sibil azul gira lay gigid bodo ngel wasem sel sugum akalment ma migra payment mura migabang ikadam ngel wasen tela sel nel adralo na bil pering tela gel dual mil ngasel no wal pay ba kay gigid el interest ma services kum da sulang tiang ako tioga tigal beklada kum mesel waseng man maklol issue asel mo maltob da telo do del mura igal tablo bang housing mau sabay motrok lay gigid lo ase sel bem sel open marawingin mga government tel ngari gigit buk sibil ada du radong lil waseng ngara agil milgot mo kum sibil milgot mo lagi gigit instead ra dingu terogil men wasakal mental pegang el pera loan ra megabang mandi gigit statement ra andi kum das waseng close issue tel tokora housing gigit amni la setiang adul ngut mo kringil mo ng sera adal malos pe igal tokora apply mandi kal yol ngitang isang mi wase bol sepe dat mage dosi garo le dolong ser tiga gigit adal pe igal drong ok basta kadam gra mo sutrir ya ul magalment tam no sir tegi del interest mo sing wal wala dire ko albule dire kal mal garba interest trigal housing angara for 1% di development pa ngara 6 and more bab ay gigid ya ul mang agalment tam milas mo long sir was able take care ay gidel drengela interest mungil abol blotak lagi gid record sel le government hindi yung das was sel do para detail ngungil al gamiw ma Minister of Finance adu sel me Minister of Finance lo labay gigit bolsa pedel do misringil ngara modokta ka rogul ngara arung lam sodel betul merapekla sulay chairman
Senator Isal.
Chairman, ako mo close di mutul lolnya ontik pero di multura igel statement ng algirela section 5 RPPL 10-36 cell B. Second, the bank shall enter into subsidiary agreement with the Republic of Palau, wherein the Republic of Palau shall be responsible for all payments to Mega Bank. Ang gaida Brian na Mr. Larian na share tel subsidiary agreement. Malbla takla. The subsidiary agreement was Article 3 ringi. And was Section 301. 3.01 Chelsea. Mula si PHA, Palau Housing Authority, and NDBP shall repay to the Ministry of Finance a sum equal to the amount of money that the Ministry of Finance dispersed from the loan to fund its Palau Housing and the bank's request under HTLP. In other words, eventually 20 years from the day you withdraw the money, you need to pay back that money. But it's silence and lump sum, or what's the interest? It's silence and interest. But how much you're supposed to pay? I assume it says you're going to pay back whatever. If NDBP withdraw 6 million, you're going to pay back that 6 million. When club will go like in Pergamia, maybe I got pay some of this money to guys to put aside. Invest and put aside to be able to pay back to Ministry of Finance pursuant to subsidiary agreement. This is not a free money to you guys. You have to pay for it according to subsidiary agreement. Even though you're not going to pay any interest on it. And even though you're not going to pay from 20 years from the date of disbursement. Mang global goal, egalik sa haraw, bulborias ya silududir. Slowly, maybe tell
It's a point of correction. Senator Isal, ang niya sel SLL mo bang? Sel Subsidiary Loan Agreement. Ang niya amendment number 1 el moringi. El dated November 25, 2020. El remove. Hindi ako banggal sel kapilong ilo. Megulingi trust staff mal.
Sige daw ule. That's exactly my point. Sige daw ule gire the chairman of revisit ngi. Gire the reinstated sige the repayment lack, and it says the total loss to Republic of Palau as a whole. Sige dia. That statement mera kalik sa Senate giram ro si ma house ma president. Girel somehow, and somebody has to help Palau pay the loan when it's time to pay it back. Lea Allah ablatak la siapel abal Palau amla assume the responsibility to pay this loan yang at 3 years sa grace period ni. May say at 2% plus LIBOR. Selbol temele belal pay. Engirel mo pay. And this subsidiary agreement the blam change ni. Amne girel ay ga rule institution mo start al haraw 20 years later. Sellable toy, yung mo nga justification at tigal PHA ma NDBP, ilmarat interest nga lala. Mo blakatak mo ara bela, tamalar ngil eventually tigal mo harat loan whatever they got from Ministry of Finance. It just make a wise business decision and fair business decision. Mandakal along the national government going forward. They don't forget, ngariabal cerebelal mortiang, ngariabal cerebelal coming up more PPUC, ngariabal cerebelal coming up for service pension plan, the direct loan, water and sewer. Ay gali na kami sabi lao, rogoy, yabe lao karentor, agi mo matigi ka, ato obiro sigaw do. Sige de, chairman aswaka dribisit sa subsidiary agreement, mga gano'n ko, Vice President sa Senate. Kada naman sa program, maral, helping people, di nga rin needs, real change, malubo ka amen, malubo ka gusak. It's all for the benefit of the government, trabelaw, marad trabelaw. Sulang.
Ari ang el senator soal ano follow up ring gilel say. Senator
Pues kita alam mo las tel ora digri que kote chairman akmal mirang asuliura amring ruri ak padingak masanga ka maktire kam langar abor makmania sesel demi ka damral mo o ngartiang andi nga ka amral lo umrang kasi tegi dati al sebed el help improve aurior makmal kota digri gal di quickly chairman Rudim kasi kami kom charge sa tela na igal housing loans na kami tela percent na interest term charge igal regular and I'm not talking about this
regular program 4.5%.
4.5%. Ako ger se mrong talgib el mo ger kami ara NDBP ling nganya bebira aurel mokleak ndak tu kaseng amal nganya ngilom sodel ndik chakal mo kami la trabor del ngartero ko kasi nganya la kaseng 8%. Selma first time home owner. Eko masyala kung first time home owner mo 10%. So kan mo dayak masengram guktiya katigingil mer kamamar kasi sel 8% tel because ngala at yagi da hukum incurring loss. Ya so kung mandag ngram dia kamu tiang regardless ra kaseng first teng second ngul mo 8%. Also kung sil operate ra 8 ngram ko charge ra 10% tel mo ra adal kasi mo ko ora next supply. What's the rationale behind that? I'll say answering the clue. Claire, I guess maybe I can ask it. I haven't seen any request from the bank asking the government or the OEK that the law that you set that says for first-time homeowners, you're going to charge 8%. Okay? But you also have a policy that you're going to charge a regular housing at 10% loan. So I want to know what's the rationale. If you can charge 8%, why are you charging 10%?
Okay, there's two parts to that question. One is the 8% is for first-time homeowners, and the second is the 10% rate is for second, third, or fourth-time homeowners. The rationale behind that was within the bank long before I came, and the board and I have had discussions about looking at those interest rates and looking at our interest rates overall. The issue we have as a bank is the way we are funded, and we are funded with some very high cost borrowing at fixed rates and at also flexible rates which rise and fall with LIBOR. All our loans, no matter what type of loan you get, the interest rate is fixed for the term of the loan. So when interest rates come down, it would be very easy to take, to tell our customers that we're going to reduce their interest rates. The issue we have is what happens, and it will happen in the future, where interest rates increase and LIBOR increases, and our rates that we're paying on our borrowings are more than the rates that we're receiving interest in. So my issue, and I've been looking at funding and looking for funding, is the way we're funded. I mean, we recently got a loan from Taiwan. We managed to negotiate the maximum interest rate at 4%. So on top of that, I have to charge an interest rate that means I can cover our expenses and other costs and also receive enough income to on-lend. I'm sure as the Senate, you don't want me coming to you every year saying, I need another couple of $1 million and I need another $1 million. We've had hugely successful past 5 years. Our loan book has grown enormously. We are going to have to come at some stage back to the Senate and ask for, for approval for another government guarantee for further borrowing, so that we can keep contributing to the economy.
Claire, I totally understand the point that you're making, but the people that have their housing now can afford that. So my point is, if you're gonna do that for the second housing, why don't you do it at 12%, but lower the first-time homeowners? I think this is where, even at 8%, you're not going to find a lot of people that are working for the government that's able to afford that. So they're going to the Palau housing. So I'm trying to make a comparison in terms of what are they doing differently that you can do to help actually, because Palau Housing Authority is always saying that, oh, we only have enough money for this and we're giving out loans and we have to wait for our next batch of money for us to even give out more loans.
I can't comment on Palau housing. I think mainly for us it's not just housing, it's the commercial loans that we cover as well. Someone will strike me down for what I'm about to say, I'm sure, but consultants that we have come in and look at the way the bank is structured and the interest rate we charge actually think that we should be charging higher interest rates. I would like to see, and I need to work on it, I would like to see our housing rates flat for anyone. I'd like to stimulate a market where a young person comes in and maybe buys a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom or 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home, then gets married or finds a partner, has children, wants to move on to the next home. I'd like to see people doing that rather than they settle in one home and they stay there for the next 20 years. If you think I can get away with raising our second interest rate on the second home loan borrowers to 12%, I'd say.
Well, I'm looking for you to say if I can get away from the 8% to 6%, that would be good.
Yeah.
So if you're going to say that to me, I'm going to say that if you can get away with that. The reason why I'm bringing up these questions, Claire, is Pacific Island Development Bank offers up to $200,000 for housing, and they've been stuck at 7%. I don't know what are they doing differently than what you're doing. I don't know what's your overhead cost. I think they're paying a higher salary in Guam. So these are the kind of things that, and they're also eligible. Palauans are eligible for that money. So I'm trying to get to a situation na kamera adra border kasi maybe uwi nam talgibel tmul mo ogera igagi dalger mura ngal maredaling digal duk kasi igagi damle practice magdamal mol maldi ngarangi. I think we need to question ourselves. You always have to question the conventional wisdom. Ako na sa segi da challenge el dire gal morgi da kamera adra border magamamal ngatang e dire gal oger. Ako kasi ngaringi ate al rasab edel guk talgibel chance away igagi dal guk Directly bring up Senator Tabalwal. The challenge rigi the shall be at time kada other abor the among the what is the meeting the approve. But look down and direct momes sem gora talgibel challenge ramiwa akosingara gora be esel teletile sab edel guk direct helper other way allow rather than the traditional programming. Like I said, akum das tigel adal meral sil afford the blirir. Amla mablirir. Kita trail mora kosituat al tigel ngarior tiagi the ludodel requirement talaga may adong requirement talaga may dungun may hindi ko din kasing lahat tela o lakal malsukum di ka musukor siya ludo di ka apparently hindi kasi magadurabli may di kasi malmura NDBP mga program mga mil si ilguk mo help pertigigi del below say gagi del Palau housing adire kal marungi del all time so sige da ko ra di so kal lodo si chairman ko mal masaul akmal ngakangat jangal maral vice chair tiagi do committee chairman ng mga saw, and I'm willing to help makmal merang asulira talti alam mas inme Brian makamera ukra National Housing Commission. Thank you.
Senator Isal.
The Vice Chairman has to sort of ring my bell about another thing, nothing to do with the housing loan program. It's the other side of the coin. When was the last, besides this $15 million loan that Palau got for NDBP for housing, when was the last time NDBP got a loan from somebody else to loan out as a source of money to loan out?
Last year we got money from the ICDF fund in Taiwan.
And how much was that?
That's a total of $5 million.
This was for the agriculture one?
No, this is for small and medium businesses, women and youth entrepreneurs.
And how much is the interest on that?
The interest is linked to LIBOR, maximum interest rate 4%.
And how much have you loaned out of that $5 million?
I think we've loaned just over we've only drawn down $3 million because we have 2 drawdowns, and I think we've lent out about $1.5 million so far.
Are you stuck with the remaining amount to be lent? Are you stuck for that particular program, or can you use it for help?
It can only be used for the program that the funds were given to us for. That's the other issue we have as a bank, is we have a lot of restricted funds. So from ICDF, we can only use those funds for small, medium businesses, women and youth entrepreneurs.
Now, I remember years back, I think this was during Caleb Udoy's term or somebody else, the Fijian guy, but Social Security gave a loan to NDBP for $3 million. And then a couple of years later, they increased that loan by another $3 million. So total of $6 million loan was. Is that loan still outstanding? And if so, how much is the balance of that loan?
The loan is still outstanding, and I think there's, off memory, there's a balance of about $1.9 million.
And that loan was for what purposes?
That loan, I understand, was for general purposes.
Okay. And so you still owe that money?
Yes.
When do you plan to pay that off?
We pay. We make regular payments to Social Security.
Pardon
We make
me?
regular payments
And how much
half-yearly.
is that a month or are you paying yearly or
Half-yearly.
half yearly? How much
Yep.
you pay for? Okay. So when do you plan to pay it off? I mean, in the next couple of years?
It should be paid off in the next couple of years. I
Can
know
you
that
accelerate the repayment so we can get our retirement soon? Anyway, there's no other loan pending outside Social Security and the Mega Bank?
Yep, we've got a loan to European Investment Bank.
How much is that?
That's now less than, I think it's less than about 300,000, so we're aiming to pay that off by the end of this year.
Okay.
We've got $5 million to Megabank.
The agriculture one?
The agriculture
Okay.
one. We've got another Megabank loan, and then we've got an ROP, Republic of Palau loan as well.
Okay. Good. That's all. Shalom.
Senator Aldabe.
Di mo edel marigi del namadung akum das yung ngungil direk kami adrabor da especially development banka abom realize ik masing adra malasa malosiga igel rokul alduuleng sa edel mula igal loan ergidel mo affordable igal housing loan ma business loan mo affordable adbelaw memang masih sedukuk tak compare gitu mora igal baby ra develop belbelu arwa Hawaii makwam interest rate amal ngario mang kada siga rolek masih kada makarang ya kampitlo bangkela gitu I know dirga kabol salsab edel kampitlo lo bangkela igal ang makla market ra hindi abodo mesa ungil aldaulen sab ed remember ang executive branch ay tiagi del housing loan au lemu la discussion ngi part la discussion amle say the negotiator ti loan la bagala Taiwan en dimlakal madungul marababier ding amle wan ra option el belo asa el mo consider ngi malu lo bangka Taiwan al sugum modial sa belo pay bakat ti loan ay future stimulus fund asap el mo labal mo offset sa igid loan hindi ka kadabor sa igid discussion kada malasa mal pay back at loan as much as we can hindi sugo makadama default malum di ka mal di ka roler igid sa igid next step al da Ya Taiwan ang umrak na sing according to ambassador. Ang lakongel those tia ay stimulus every year, 10 million stimulus every year. Lo label support ay development or housing, business development lang. Actually ay stimulate development. Mang by server sa the purpose ra ngesulo miskita Taiwan ang rapekal. Mang giral mo consideration ra kami sa igidel kuma same. There will be a opportunity sa biedel reduce the interest rate provided that those baby ray kay gidel udo ra Taiwan lo level injecta capital rabang among mo sa lo level. So it's more like a free money ngay o level loan out more are okay at a very low interest rate. Sige da domestic option. Ya ulgo mong alto ko mong sabil direct ngal maredor kami mong mostat al mrula gigidel ko assessment. I'll take into account these assumptions. E ako marak na sensitive edel ko kami as a board ako kruli proposal kami mga government. Ek na say ulgo mo kam government sa el help incheck ta telal million mortial bang and sa among interest rate en medio el merti del 6%. Agi help para aptol mutu aptol ada bela los pe loan lom kadora bliri. So agi del dialogue ako mdas ngida del namustata el discuss merong o mesa igi del kakarusel option. I know there's options out there and ma opportunities el nga fresh ludo del lotur talbang ning gedel modong okle mula assessment tergid o to del mera attention ol bil ma leadership it that's it makalawr gut mo. That's the same for mura Palau housing mang akti so alik mo igi del albebi at time kada kadukmal di mo concentrate radi i-make sure hindi kal matamal balance tergid hindi sel bodo mesa sel moral moktegra program abang et yang development ba mangira del o siga ger rolele kada stimulate development tora housing tora business development ay gigi del and the only option for financing kita madinga igal commercial bank kada kasi ma interest rate 10 medio yung kadam dingel deposit sa other belaw maigal business lol tura igal commercial banks adi to they not being reinvested in the our economy magigida bebira kung nas yung bebira options gida del mo consider eda takaluro el gutmok la gida sa edel gutmok kay gal man years sulang
saulala Director Malayre.
Chair akong masa kora already mga simra at yal hearing di kultur ke bagum ter kama marangara National Housing Commission extra update tablo especially a committee el girel sel aranglela $15 million sa losing waras yasing ring all time Ordi mo takra mangitakra $15 million mong rendirar adang nga 3 million available all time hindi meraringa da kaloy say kita mel mutel all time sira ko tulo mo urtial partnership lo magalegal tablo banks kadam la disperse 13.4 million hablado todo del mora housing program ay gidel displaced mar first time homeowners 13.4 million emla address 175 homes do mesra daringel audo de meeting mede la 1.555 million amade el daringel audo dirga kada disperse ringel mora tablo bank artiagi del initiative gid and diesel bodo mesa reports ra igal tablol bang ing ngaringia igel remaining obligation dir ko spe injection of funding do mesa ngaringia audakya la initiative ra Palau housing rairai subdivision rairai 12 blay ma pre-approved blay NDBP 59 ay diesel mot makarogo 6.189 million yang go beyond 15 million kaya dire kalo mes ay gel tial housing program mal emerging issue bato ko regal state government sergi dam na initiate subdivision program sa tit kita oro lo gela Palau housing mamal gayok state el guk oligis ra housing subdivision at tit diregal ngaringi ablura ay malig, mablur ngot pang, mablur ngiwal, mablur ngot along. Direkal mo da kay rogul initiative setir, ekadome sera placeholder number rakme 19.9 million. So housing is an emerging toko rablur belaw, gire del mogilo mesringi, Senator Oldabe la mo malakorsel tokora interest lo asing kuktiya kadasal di mo ama wala balance sheet nga kadiregal mo ultur ko arang lela Senate ma leadership baigal tablol banka lo ase the bododak edo mesil gire la construction cost lesegi dia driving factor ara legal blay construction cost kada akmadengel lo asing mlamo mereka Senate yang ara house sel building codes and standards se ulgum mungmornya building standard mungmornya standard dalo asia atuba badi moda class 4 enya mosel kan salidate purchasing ma delivery segi del di imol tuba aramerio akmadeng lo asing moise kada kay sel support sel building code ma standards mong motoy emerkong segi den ya mosel standardized construction material circuit mandia kal angal okya ka modia kal forced Momalara substandard del material regal hardware asina el morulablil emerkong egida mo blame ra inspector mabang but au ulel tial tokoy enggang angilu substandard del material linglis el affordering so yes al inspector sa diregal kluangar alir hindi gal construction defect chairman dekal sebel di inspection nimer ko ngaringi material defects direkal sebel impact ra longevity ma quality ra blay makulingi ta support til girel sa igid tokora building code ma standards emergong egida omesel budula akmo malgoy igid wal outstanding initiative ra housing program lesel do mesra 10-36 en wal coterminos la wal dilo lut kulbudul tial loan 15 million. Bilgulo si tial asel la dispersion nga NHC rogire enya armari kling mada NHC. Mung kadal amo ngilo mesela dire kalo mesra umrolel tial housing program going into the future lo asing makarang el amo otobdi amendment malubong hybrid bill el mo address ra housing tial housing development program ra blue belaw going into the future. Igigid ang message ra NHC o sulang.
Senator, sir.
Direktor malungil ka nos moditi lang. Detara ta albangan ngil tialla ra 10-36 en makto nga alela housing adori atel commission. Agirela housing almo tel NHC elmo provide affordable housing for citizens in need. Eselmal club gulo kasi the NHC shall work with relevant stakeholders. I guess that's state government. To develop an urban and suburban plan with the infrastructure. Akmadengera deliberation kay 10-36 simula. Yung meklot to kasi po dos pa bebe galudo. El bill dara el madeng giba siral muraigal. Misil over subdivision el dirmede $1 million el tel first till 15 and the feasible adosa kapait plan na subdivision el bedad o singe dangal sel next 15 million egi dos per tel balance la first 15 el mora first time home owners mar displays retirgagi dia ultalla amlolla e subdivision met plan ringi lobengela infrastructure expenses el dia do ngela sing how much it is redim sa infrastructure it amo mo like rara ikal balloon mo niya ikal housing ngar alel ang state bakpayom daslo aseme bom meeting and decide la sentangel nga RTCL may mutual balance na first 15 el mula bliar art pursuant to 10-36 a priority at this place my first time homeowner. Those are the two most important clients. Rigid. Egito the plan na subdivision, ito do stakeholders, ito sigal mo nga rayan, na sila may self-push till 15. Ito nga talgib ngir mula bibi rayan, sila natin gibasira, mabaya raral, mula igil subdivision na igil kang raral. Mang segita kakam na house may atra house dilma atra sita dilma la si may maklab gula subdivision ending our first time home owners mar displace of democratic. Segit yamle intent of 10-36. 2. First time home owners. Elak matengay. Tengah our first time home owners ngilalon. 6 months later ang mawrio at 10-36. Item law di finance. That's good. It will get totally hindi ka kalumong labili. El displacement of the first time home owner. Segit support Palau housing. Lebih Palau housing al-aswa subdivision. Beote. Beote kami nangyari, makaram, kung di financial blood, start to pay. But let's look at the next source of funding for that. That's a big baby. Abalan setial, mede el first 15 na waba mo apply ngira subdivision, hindi ka imulplay mo to na wala ka do. Sulang.
President Paulus.
Kahali di ko kere Director Brian sel subdivision ray ng lato ba daw do mon din dir ka nga plan di already kung lato ba daw do out of that 15 million.
Waise Presidenta Senate.
Bulgulo siyang telal million na more sel subdivision ray.
Sel subdivision ray osenge dringi 1.1 billion din dir ka do top do mo. Adi bla do top do del girela sel initiative ray adi mle help ra sel EIS ma engineering ma mo sewer system segi del subdivision bled disperse lo ya ka Palau housing mle mot makal tablong 116,000 el consulting fees el bled procuring ya Palau housing e kita dim na support
Mel audo del morseng moto dara ngarang
sel ludaw del mora
morsel subdivision again telal blay
asegi del 12 el blay
Mantela cost ringi.
Cost estimate ringi plus ra development ra site $1,135,600.
Indin ngarge seludo.
Indir ka kadot tabdi le kadang arsegi del tiagi del lolgor niya senator is allo si kadang concentrate ra are immediate displaced mar first time homeowners. Di ul makadang arsegi del wal support igal housing subdivisions housing commission kada realize lo sing area first time homeowners mar displaced el dia ka atamir el build upon makadang arsegi del housing subdivision program. So there's an importance.
Bela segi del subdivision. Hindi kal sibir tirgal adal mali sertir ray building ertir instead ra ngarsel subdivision o ngara subdivision ang mayod. Ela tirgegi del dul waset 12 applicant ng ray. Hindi kal sibir ray modo dura complement ray madil ngadi saad balakbol trura subdivision molongil. Leng oppe ngari alis ray manggegi del adal ngara subdivision lebol aplar sel di sel ngue mo kodurura blil. Le omrelil mo subdivision I don't think you can accomplish that. Madol ko ringi al sum tirgel ad el 12 ad. Kale pa ilbeot odi mo do ortim el pastri raigel lis. Mamstatar project. Ya umongi luaseng kadamngil mo subdivision en aku the way it is now aku mesringin di al CPL el motoy. Como tanda situation ay rare lang mga gumesring ameod ya udaw damde le adal first time home owner sa igidi amangil I don't think you can get anywhere. Ereng di ang mongering idim ulmora hauldas mo maurol giret. En sokal logera adra banka aku kira kami luasay ela kami adi somil collect tersel 3 million. Hindi ka sibil ko ram sa kablement ta grace period el al tarrak el dangara pandemic le kom dengel wasendia karole la kabulmente de pera 3 million at this time. El time kabulmente is running on a loan. El bang la batok loan. Mendia kal spe del mutlo sigra 3 million out of loan el per gmiu man. Dia kal swim sa kabulmente grace period for 1 year. Ada opsap kabulmente grace period ra 1 year in close ti albang modal swil operate ang maldia karolel. Lendia karolel, dia ko ng etirkal kali kana kala swil swil gaw do ndi kukageng dia karolel eksi gaw do anywhere. Unless we gonna go through the loan, pay you back.
Sulang Director Marairen lo siam letra la oram le swakal address ringi tagi del tokora subdivision e mal blaktak nga sa report kami umgit makli Umdasyon direkal blaktak le Director lo sa NHC office uspe angis ra kadamdingel wasing adimendra housing malmol malngaringi ya expertise gid malut adal semong rawdur awalo long song sa kumdaswing diyon tira itia wase mebol seb edel motong okle da kita address ay gigil issues direct kalbodo role direct tial national building safety code eng maral ngaringin ngarala hindi kumdasal kukal seb edel address abe bira gel through policy regulations ngarang direct kal bol seb el makatmok Alek Lutel Saulala, Presidenta ba? Oo, kami mo takalong siya akmle. Wala ka teledel.
President Senate ala akmal broth unsa ba edel discussion ni. So mamal mas grace period as long as about atong okla discuss aroon.
Hindi ang even at the discuss ringi mo kuma madiolong track race period ko by the ansel wasen sabiul di kami decide mas kamaman dia kale about the discuss ringi impom ada do spadamang at least the dulo cheng telalis later magimong pokro mamalgire len el time I don't think we can do it clear we cannot do it. We have a lot of loan pending. We want to loan money for PUC. We want to loan money for pension plan. We want to loan money for a lot of project. So I don't think we can give you 3 million at this time.
Kamal masaule do mesra temeta ka di maral mo budul aswel tiam erul sigal da kora tang oklo ma ngaringa ngod alswal mo mga adu raw era pora closing o kale dikpsate alla senators
Mari awon gari chairman li gulbes loge ringi NDBP ngani udel investor stock market talung yo India ne di ko bay mau dudir adal wal investment tertira wala below na auto
agi baro ra ikan maklol bangkara outside
local SS gal dudir adal SS melan sabela al adal mas kami ududra locally hindi mo kami masekom director tiang mo ra ngang tel type pra loan program Hindi, abera interest tara to ako kanya kasi sabela kay gidele wanra alado wala cheng SS hindi kasi komloner tiang almorar maawodala housing program. Is that something that can actually happen?
I've had conversations with Social Security they're really keen for us to repay our current loan because they have a shortage of funds as well, and we've been trying to repay them, but because we've been so successful in the last few years, we're running out of money. Senator raised the issue: do we have funds invested do we as a bank have funds invested? The issue, we don't have funds invested because we don't have enough capital. We don't have enough spare cash to invest. And any spare cash we have from some of the loans we've got from outside, there are very strict rules on what we can and can't do with it. I would love to see the bank looked at and recapitalised. We asked for a $5 million capital injection about 2 years ago, and that ended up as a loan from ICDF. I would love to have some funds invested, say in the share market or invested, so that I could draw on it and use the income that we earn as re-lending programs. But we're just not in a financial position to be able to do that.
So can we discuss, if we give you the 3.9 million, that you can actually pay the interest to the national government? Since you're asking for money upfront, but should be paid in a 25-year span.
That I would have to discuss with the board because
the reason why I'm asking this is, I said, if you make this that the government pays 156,000 every year instead of an upfront 3.9 million, that's more palatable to the Congress rather than getting a 3.9 million, loaning it out and keeping the interest and saying that that's money that we're giving you.
I understand that. I fully understand that. My biggest concern is the bank having sufficient funds to be able to continue to lend to customers for homes, for businesses, for other opportunities. That's my biggest concern. Just getting the $150,000 per year is not. I mean, it's only going to help 1.5 clients because our average housing loan is around 100,000, so it's one and a half clients. Whereas I would like to see, we know there's a need for housing and we know there's customers out there. We've probably got 110 plus another 50, 160 customers at around a funding need of around $16 million. $16 million to cover those 160 customers.
Thank you, Claire. So kung hindi kaya angot Senator Isar.
This is not housing. This is something that the President just signed into law the other day. The Cross Act. Have you been promised any amount out of that 1.5 million for those pending loan from the pursuant to Cross Act?
We haven't been promised any money out of that 1.5. We did go back to the government prior to Christmas this last year and ask for $2 million. Based on the amount that we'd previously lent, we thought that $2 million, if COVID-19 continues for this calendar year, we're going to see more businesses struggling. And more businesses.
So from the COFA relief measures, how much applications and how much money is pending your approval or has been approved but waiting for funding on the Cross Act side?
Of the Cross Act funds we received 1.5 million. We've lent out, it's all lent. It's
pending
all gone.
application.
We've basically just taking interest from customers, but we're not lending
How many
anything.
applications you have for how much?
Oh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head,
Okay.
sorry.
All right. Last time I checked when you were entertaining this before the end of our last Congress, it was 15 million pending application of $463,000, according to Mr. Freezer.
It could be that amount. A lot of businesses are
So
hanging off, waiting to see what
how
happens
much
with the Cross
application
Act.
pending on your regular loan outside of 15 million?
I have to look up our reports. I can't tell you
we'd like
that.
to see that. Nga regular loan outside of 15, may guide loan ng Bukngar Cross Act, may guide loan ng Albang, may guide loan ng loan ng Albang la NDBP. Cross Act, funding, funded by COSAC, funding by 15 million. Application ng group multi regel di regular loan at tinamrura. Okay. Kaya po ito nga Presidenta Senate, global goal na kadun niya si tigang wala cost tira regel edel ba nga lalo. Okay, sulang. Thank you.
Man sulal bekla ade kada marmaraw lubong ma di so kalmas kami ate alam nga nga kora di closing statement ter kami malubang last tel kora al adami tiate al.
Mede gumter kumamar adrabang ke kura ka suliu may ke rogul ka mention mildur el al sales ay ka nga di akal makitel ka mention di ruliaw dor al mom sisi direct mal structure tingala al dabe al mungire dalam al awdodra abang ka sulak.
Namam sulang chairman ma al di mo mga simra kuksay da Palau housing magitom tera abort orang asaul tidal tial sa amal mesher Brazil tingela Senate President tersel kuk ong tila Palau housing ang ngara 2 million regi dire kal mot makalo magil NDBP om da sel ong tila all bill for grace period di ru maklat kalk muse oing namong kuk namo dia kaudo tial al 15 million di Palau housing amal mol ma program ringi although at an interest and ding malmol ngari 4.5%. Kaya include a 4.5% loan up to 60,000 rap SL Blay. Mga ringi renovation loan, kung saan di-renovate, nga niya 25,000 loan available. Ma 10,000, ma 5,000. Mali ma renovation. Di ka nga niya, kung nga touch ako, rak mo sa to. Kadim na example, mga senior citizens, mga niya kung 10,000 renovation loan available, mura kung senior citizens. Di kita malas mal, kung mission na Palau housing, kung mongod, NDBP Palau housing mukte karngi yasur bra low income family makpay dingu sidel tingela senator tabelwal muse in order to be more flexible gibom makal board gibom da sur sengu sel DBE alone alkuk ti mora sa idio etira kuk sil titil find their own manpower altang lasabel begi mo consider ngi kom sulang ara tian
since ko ba may ke chairman ang si Amal Kwadi Mos Modil was yung nga rin niya kung capacity kami will offer refinancing.
Bagi da director ko sige mo mo messer ngi bekti mo advice. O may kluto din utal taal may comment sa Senator Aldabe lungil comments sel to korak mo sing inspector ma. Ngara ko within a klise amrel al time sa amrel tibal mitigate tagay mo long term al mondaira. Again, takalo income family mo tamlas mo nga sertir. Ma tidale Palau housing amal digam ne hire ako sa mus inspector supervisor tibal adal kloa gaygen ringira inspection magidigam ne hire mo help regel dimlang ringil imol inspector pato ka project mal sil terung lomi vice malaka audio ko mo oy tel ka inspection ring ya ong erung gimkor omdas ringil board management adam dinge disira ka contractor magu quality ra different contractor ya project tra Palau housing di 60,000 na altang la ka margin ringi mong sell the bid out individual da di attract tigel PS or mgagari masum agi mo mes ngena kung sa makarata package let's say mo attract tigel talgibel ko klo agigeng ringi or tibel klo kom balim those are some mitigation measures gi mo mes dangal kung sa talgibel improve ra quality ra rear office
Sa la commission kanya lubang alda
Chair tiale National Housing Commission na maldia ka gender equality ringi wadi ko ngodo olom ter ka mam ere chairman kam sulat tial au era kong simre akti mutul emphasize sel importance ra housing program lo singilel malmol mo akmalkoy way sige dileng agi gora mga lalo mamar other housing commission lo sa bolak tel $15 million sa lakab sa legislation mutul smisi aurere la housing commission ang amo momiiway housing commission Hindi ko mamal support ra tial housing program yal tablol bank samla uay sa igel initiative sa tid dire legal states mo over legal state governments to dire realize ra housing program mem na initiate ay gagidele subdivision program at tid important tel domes bedul selling dire kal beto kar other below ngari private properties at tid hindi because yung ngara basyol ade kalsal conducive to building en telgibil mering tira develop leng by the time I was ilmru la foundation chere tamla oitiak me nga 150,000 of money that they do not have. So tial subdivision program awal el sol by gigid hindi direct sel o momesra subdivision program kamama aurolo ng sera Palau Housing Authority ra subdivision ramalgok hindi dire kal realize lo kasi tial ut mga ramalgyo ka lodong alia senator sa baw dire kal dia kalungil ut mo dire kal katangalak require a development cost niya da kal sa edel ngul misanga individual loan applicant leng malmo ringi mong aldo lo bangela Palau Housing several months ago was medreli sa igid concept plan imrong ebodol traringil as a pilot project el mo national infrastructure project will undertake niya national government el develop site rumulara el mong ngadeng gilot tungi ngaral mga suwelot tungi el iliak housing program mo CIP program na national government e gida develop site el mersel building path asel mo kasong ortial blay mongel molon rablay el displaced malubeng first time homeowner asilable loan ng maldi loan lomkod or rablil ra foundation el moraado legalmente tamla sum aklitial rogir el housing subdivision say one ra approach el direct sa edrobang kama housing commission Palau Housing akora amlam ali sa gidel bakasel aurior el gyulemes ramalgayo kumayra el wasa gigid bol tool drew like gidel gora concept planning ngi doctor mora leadership el tang sub edel ma funding el diakal nga loan diakal do repay nga grant basis meron ko rulia pilot program ra subdivision el sub irar adel bol blal sa tamal di blal sa rablirir leng sel domesa igel report lang ra igel blal 175 blal la top ra tablol bang sel total raw do 13.45 million ay imol blay chairman 76,000 ak madangil most regal blal adi 2 bedrooms the cost hindi akal match sa tiyak lunga lablay kulingit ta support ra committee maarang nila senate tilgiril sa igid once again ko mansula
director kung daso yerbek la adamal blatak kalwase tial tora housing amal mol mal el claw issue giredel motmak rogue o sikrolel wase makarata si angir ay gidel to nga kamalo nga sula la commission ma authority el sel kugo kamang lo singir proactive lo si role lapek ngela al tuul mo kutmok lay gangling after all kita ma ay ga girelo lang sira adal maral los pe angeso ma maldi swakal mutel lomtera president Paules ma members sa committee ngartia marokol senators maldi mo merenga suli rokoy kung mal maral masaul eng mlamo erul sigang matrum ay mulbung dotong okertiang at aabangal el malasam el losikrolel wase ngarara labodo giungi osabali ti altora housing ning waigel dilo director wase ti altora housing agire del malmol malo o milisi ringi maral nga ringi agel guk issue gidra tora do makata kaibat akal mong email waseng wangara boto sam okringi di kom direk kalman sular adrabang karsel kuk mleont mamle kong wase medo sikrolel wase makara kuk extend the courtesy mera olbira kalulaw mestria te al mal ubang grace period al kuk moharar tialing kita maral remurtra loan el anga apa kabelmentri git makmal di ilmutel merenga suliar beklaat tial hearing kita housing adi metiang emro